Today we are going to discuss about Unit 6 reproduction. In Telugu it is called as Pratyutpatti. So already we discussed that there are 10 units are there in 10th class biology textbook: nutrition, respiration, transportation, excretion, coordination, and this is the sixth one, reproduction. And seventh one is coordination life process. Heredity, our environmental concern, and last one is natural resources. Like that, 10 units are there in our biology textbook. And we have already discussed reproduction in living organism, in plants and also in animals in previous video. And today we are going to discuss about sexual reproduction in plants. So there are about 350,000 species of plants are there on earth. So how many species of flowering plants are there on earth? And that is a 2-mark question. It may be asked in annual examination or some may do assessment 2. So you need to write about what? There are about 350,000 species of flowering plants are there on earth. And these 350,000 species of flowering plants, they are producing what? Flowers. And these plants may be range from a small that is rice grain which are floating in the water to a large plant which is growing on Himalayan region, which may weigh about tons of kgs, and some of the giant plants which are also growing in deserts. So these are all called as the flowering plant. Sal plant, that is a tall plant that is growing the foot hills of the Himalayas. It is a flowering plant. And cactus plant and giant cactus that is growing in desert, that is Sahara's desert. It also produces what? Flowers. And orchids, and these are the small plants which grow on the branches of jungle trees. All these are called as the flowering plants. And flower is called as a reproductive part. So what are called a reproductive part of a plant? So flowers are called as a reproductive unit of parts of a plant. So this is a flower, and this is datura flower, and this datura flower is having both sex organs. And if a flower is having either male or female sex part, it is called as a unisexual flower. Example, papaya and also bottle gourd. So this plant, this flower is having both sex organs, both male. So these are called as stamens, and it is called as a gynoecium. So this is called as a female part, and this is called as a male part. So each flower is having both male and female sex organ. Those flowers are called as bisexual flower. So this is datura flower, and this datura flower is having what? Both sex organ. This one is called as gynoecium, female reproductive part. So gynoecium is also called as carpel. It is also called as female reproductive system, female reproductive part. And these are what? Stamen. Stamens consist of what? Filament and also anther lobes. Anther lobes are producing what? Pollen grains, male gametes. So these are called as male and female reproductive part of a flower. This gynoecium or female reproductive part consists of ovary, and this long one is called style, and the terminal part is called as the stigma. So carpel or pistil, gynoecium consists of what? Ovary, style, and stigma. In examination, you may ask a question like that: what are the parts of a gynoecium? What are the parts of a pistil? And what are the parts of a female reproductive part of a flower? And that time you need to write ovary, style, and stigma with diagram. So you may ask that question in 2-mark question. And again you see male reproductive parts. Male reproductive parts are what? Stamens. And these stamens consist of filament and also antherlobes. Antherlobes consist of what? Pollen gland. And now we discuss what? Male and female reproductive part. So here actually a flower is having what? Four parts, four major parts we observed in a flower. So this is the first part. It is green in color and it is called as calyx. And this is our tubular structure. It is colored and this color part is called corolla. Calyx also called as sepals and corolla is also called as petals. Calyx, corolla. Calyx, that part is also called as sepals. And corolla, that part is also called as petals. Petals are brightly colored. And calyx, what is the function of calyx? So calyx is green color and it protects the flower in bud condition. And what is the function of corolla? Corolla is brightly colored. So in case of rose, you will see petals, brightly colored petals, and red color, and also pink color, white colored petal we observed. And those are colored, and these petals are useful to attack the insect for cross pollination. So this is called as corolla or petals. And third part is called as stamens or andicium. This is a filament also, antherlobes with pollen gland. And fourth part is called as gynoecium, a pistil, a female reproductive part. It consists of ovary, style and stigma. And this is the structure of a flower. And it is called as a bisexual flower. A bisexual flower is having both male and female sex parts. Gynoecium and also andicium. And unisexual flower, example, papaya and also bottle gourd, they are having what? Only one sex organ. So they may have either gynoecium or that is stamen, andicium. So those flowers are called as unisexual flower. Again, here in this concept we are going to discuss about what is self-pollination, what is cross-pollination. So here pollen grains are produced by the male part, and these pollen grains are male gametes. If the pollen grain, they may fall on the stigma, and you see, and these pollen grain, they may germinate, and finally they have what? A male gamete, they may fuse with the egg cell to form what? Petulation. So if pollen grain fall on the stigma of the same flower, and that is called as self-pollination. In examination, you may get a question, you may ask a question like this: what is the self-pollination? Self-pollination means falling off the pollen grains of same flower fall on the stigma of the same flower is called as self-pollination. If pollen grains of the one flower fall on the stigma of the other flower of the same plant or other flower of the same species is called as cross-pollination. So we discuss what is self-pollination and what is cross-pollination. What is self-pollination and also what is cross-pollination. Now we need to discuss about how fertilization takes place, and we need to discuss about the nature of the pollen grain. Suppose if you take a marigold flower and tap it on a glass slide and adding 1 drop of water, and you observe under microscope like this pollen grain, and the pollen grains when it germinates on the stigma and it is producing pollen tube, and pollen grain consists of two nuclei. These are called as male nuclei. So that is a brief description about male reproductive part of a flower. Now we need to discuss about female reproductive part of a flower. This is called as gynoecium. This is called as gynoecium, and there is a pistil or female reproductive part. And female reproductive part consists of ovary, and this is ovary, and this is style, and this is stigma. So here this diagram depicts fertilization diagram. So here we need to discuss about how fertilization takes place in plants or a flower. So I told you this is antherlobes, and these are antherlobes. Antherlobes are producing pollen grains, male gametes. When the male gametes are fall on the stigma, and these stigma consists of sugary substances. Sugar substances. And these sugar substances are useful to germinate the pollen grain, and finally pollen grain germinate, and it produces what? A pollen tube. This is pollen tube, and finally this pollen tube grows through the style, passes through the style, and finally it enters into the what? The embryo sac micropyle. So here you see the presence of ovary, and ovary consists of what? Ovules, and ovules are what? Female gametes, and this is ovule. Entire structure is called entire structure is ovule. Inside the ovule, what is present? Embryo sac is present, and based on the presence of the plant species, there may be 1 to several thousands of ovules are present in the ovary. And here I draw only one ovule for to understand the concept of fertilization in an easy manner. So this is ovule, and ovules are attached to the ovary, inside the ovary, and by means of a stalk. And here this ovule consists of what? A megaspore mother cell, and this megaspore mother cell undergo what? 3 mitotic cell division and 1 meiotic cell division. Later it form what? Embryo sac. This is called as embryo sac, and these are called as outer integument and also internal integument, and this is called as embryo sac. And this embryo sac consists of 7 cells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Embryo sac consists of what? 7 cells. And embryo sac consists of what? Nutrients also, what? Water. And this is called as embryo sac, consists of 7 cells with 8 nuclei. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the cells which are grouped on the top of this embryo sac is called as what? Synergids. 1, 2, 3 are called as synergids. And the other 3 cells which are grouped at this micropylar region is called as central one is called as egg cell. On the other side of the egg cell we see the presence of what? 2 helper cells. These are called as helper cells, and these are called as synergids. At the center we can see the presence of a big cell that is called as central cell. It consists of 2 nuclei, and these 2 nuclei are called as polar nuclei. That is brief description about what? Embryo sac. An embryo sac consists of what? Nutrients and also water, and embryo sac consists of what? 7 cells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with 8 nuclei. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like that 8 nuclei are present, and the 3 cells which are grouped on the top are called as synergids, and the central cell is called as central one is a central cell, and the C cells which are present in micropylar region is called as egg cell and also helper cell. And this is the pollen tube, and pollen tube consists of what? 2 male nuclei, and one of the male nuclei fused with fertilized with the egg cell to form zygote. So one of the male nuclei fertilized with egg cell to form zygote, and these cells are useful to help the fertilization. These are called as helper cell. And another male nucleus passes through the micropyle. It also fuses with what? Fertilized with what? Central cell. So at the time of entry of second male nucleus, and these 2 nucleus fuse together to form as what that is called a fusion nucleus. And this fusion nucleus and finally fuses with what? Second male nuclei, and second fertilization takes place, and it develops as endosperm. It develops as embryo. It develops as endosperm. So after fertilization we observe the formation of embryo and also endosperm. So this is first fertilization and this is the second fertilization. So first and second fertilization, 2 fertilization we observed in case of that is the bisexual flower, most of the flower, and that is the characteristic feature we observed in case of plants. So we discuss how fertilization takes place in flower. So after fertilization we observe that this ovule in this integument develop into what? Seed codes, and inside we see what? Embryo sac. Embryo sac develop into what? That is embryonic plant. So ovule develop into seed. Inside the embryo sac develop into what? Embryonic plant. Embryonic plant. And this embryonic plant, baby plant, consists of what? It may consist of 1 or 2 cotyledons. If a single cartilage is present, it is called as monocot. If it is present, if two cartilages are present, it is called as the dicot. So based on presence of cartilages, it is called as monocot or dicot. So here you see, in case of bean, we see endosperm is completely digested and it is stored in what? Cartilage. That is the reason in case of beans, cartilages are bulged. In case of castor, in case of rice, we see endosperm grows along with what? Embryo. That is the reason we cannot observe what? Bulged cartilages in case of monocots. So that condition we observe in case of monocot. So here you see another diagram, a small diagram, and this diagram also explaining us that the condition of ovary and style and sigma. This is the female reproductive part, and female reproductive part consists of what? Ovary, style, and sigma. And sigma is producing what? Sugary substance for to receive what? Pollen grains. And here you see this one is called as embryo sac. And embryo sac consists of what? How many cells? 7 cells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with 8 nuclei. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is also what? Female reproductive part or gynoecium. So now we need to discuss. We need to once again repeat the entire the topic that we discussed today. So this is what flower? Bisexual flower of a datura flower. This is the datura flower, and these are called as pollen grains. And it is what? Fertilization diagram, and this is called as gynoecium. Gynoecium also called as pistil or carpel, and these are called as pollen grain. And pollen grains, they fall on the stigma, they produce what? Pollen tube. And a datura flower, a bisexual flower, consists of 4 main parts: calyx, corolla, anoecium, gynoecium. Calyx, corolla, anoecium, gynoecium. So calyx is green color. Calyx also called as what? Sepals. And it produces the flower in bud condition. Corolla is brightly colored, and it also called as the sepals. And it is useful to what? Attract insects, and thereby it helps in cross pollination. And the remaining parts are reproductive part. So this is called as stamens. Stamens are male reproductive part, and stamen consists of what? Filament and also antherlobes. Antherlobes are producing what? Pollen grains. And the third part, gynoecium or pistil or female reproductive, consists of what? Ovary, style, and sigma. And these two are what? Pollen grain structures observing under microscope. And this is what? A small diagram showing what? Different parts of what? Ovary and style and sigma, gynoecium. And this is a diagram which is explaining us that it is showing that how fertilization takes place in gynoecium or in the flower, and that the diagram is especially for fertilization diagram. So today we discuss what? Basic concepts in that is the reproduction, unit 6, class 10, biology.